Hi, Cindy. Hi, Kyle. Wanted to take a second to thank you for presenting this session for us. As once again, it's very popular, so thanks so much.
Absolutely. We're happy to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right,
Absolutely.
wonderful. Wonderful. We're very happy to do it. This is one of those pieces of software that, much like when I was a trainer and I would show someone and they'd say, why didn't I know about this before? When I finally came on to OneNote several years ago and realized it had been on my machine the entire time, even though I was a technical trainer, I felt a bit like a greenhorn. So I took to it very quickly and I'm happy to share.
Great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for those of you, we're going to give a couple more minutes for everybody to jump on here, but I gave this training last year, and it just so happens that a colleague of mine, Cyndi Curnutte, who happens to also be my neighbor out in the Rocheport Township, is a power user of OneNote and helped me with tips and tricks that even I didn't know last year, because everyone uses OneNote differently. And so she's very graciously agreed to join here and help me present. So I want to thank Cyndi as well. Is everyone seeing my PowerPoint opening slide? Am I sharing the right screen?
Yes, you are, Kyle.
All right, great. We'll give just another minute or two for people to show up and we'll start promptly at noon. As we're getting started here, if you have any, and I'll say this again, but if you have any questions or if there's anything specific you'd like us to cover regarding OneNote, please feel free to put it in the chat. We'll probably go through this. I'll probably mute everybody as we get started, but you'll always be able to unmute yourself and ask a voice question. But I'm also trying to monitor the chat as I go along here. So if you have a question, feel free to put it in there. Or if you have a tip or a trick, if you see me doing something and you have a better way of doing it or a different way of doing it, this is Microsoft, right? There are 5 ways to do everything in Microsoft. So please feel free to put that in the chat as well, because the way I work is not always the way everyone works. So I'll be quiet here for another minute and then we'll get started.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this introduction to OneNote. My name is Shelley Bushrell. I work in the Division of Human Resources and Finance Services, and we want to welcome you to another great session for the fall training conference. I am going to very quickly turn it over to Kyle and Cyndi, but I wanted to let you know that we will be recording this session, and also, so it'll be available hopefully next week, but we also would like for you to fill out the surveys after you've participated. You should get an email that will ask you to give us your thoughts about this training session, so we look forward to hearing those responses. I am going to just be another promoter or convert, or however you want to say it. I took this session last spring, and I've also become a very avid OneNote user. So this is a great class to be in, and Kyle and Cyndi have a great deal of knowledge to help us move further in our journey. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle and Cyndi.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll just do quick introductions here and then we will get started. My name is Kyle Blomenkamp. I'm currently the Web Operations Manager for University Extension. So if you go to the Extension website, my team and I manage that entire site. Before that, though, and part of the reason I'm here today is I spent 4 years as a technical trainer for the Division of IT for the University of Missouri. Microsoft was my specialty. I taught the entire Microsoft suite, as well as some Adobe and HTML and other things. But I really took to OneNote, as I was saying at the beginning of the session. I was a late convert. I probably started using OneNote 4 or 5 years ago, and there were many other people who used it even before me. But I'm happy to be here and happy to have Cyndi alongside. I'll give her just a second to introduce herself.
So, Cyndi Curnutte, I am a registered interior designer with Campus Facilities and Design Services. I saw a brief presentation of OneNote a long time ago. I feel like it's been like 10 years. And I took to it and learned as much as I could on my own about it. There were not a lot of training sessions out there, so just kind of finding my way. And I took Kyle's session last year, hoping to get, one additional tip would help me save time or help me figure out how to do something. And I actually commented on several things. And so Kyle and Susan asked me to join with training this year. So here we go.
We're good at recruiting. She thought she was going to learn something and instead she's teaching something. So we appreciate her being alongside as well. So thanks, Cyndi. I'm going to stop my share here, and I'm not going to work from a PowerPoint. I am going to launch directly into OneNote. Now, I should say, and you can put in the chat, we're going to jump back and forth. Cyndi and I both use OneNote 2016, which came out with Microsoft 2016. That's probably a function of just where I took up with OneNote when I started using it. But there is OneNote 2010, or no, I'm sorry, OneNote for Windows 10, right? That came out with Windows 10. They have very similar functionality, but they do look a bit differently. So we're going to be showing probably most things in 2016, but I do have 2010 open as well. Let me share the proper screen here so I can show you what they both look like. And it looks like you're seeing my screen now. Let me get my chat open so I can see that. And so we have, this is OneNote 2016. And this is OneNote for Windows 10, right? So you can see, yes.
We're just seeing your OneNote splash screen, not your.
Okay, let's try this again. How's that?
There we go.
Okay. So this is OneNote for Windows 10. And this is OneNote for 2016. The biggest difference that you can see right out of the gate is really how the notebooks are laid out. So this shows a single notebook, right? And I can switch here and I'll get into all this stuff with tabs across here, across the top, and then pages along the right-hand side. So if I was to go to, for example, my content management forum, and I've already set something up here to show you in a minute. If I go to my content management forum agenda keeper, right? For all of my old agenda topics, I would start a new date and a new page for each agenda topic. And that is all kind of within the CMF tab. I'm not sure if anyone comes from the same generation I came from, but a good way to think about this is kind of as a big trapper keeper. It is a great way to keep different sets of information tabbed and organized in different ways. So if you're just starting from scratch, right, on 2016, you'll see my notebook and it'll open up to a default notebook over here. And it's also very easy to add a notebook. So if I had new, you could put it on OneDrive, or you could just add in. I'm using this one here. I'll add a notebook on Windows for 2010 because that's the one I have hooked up to my OneDrive. But across the top here are your different tabs. And you can add content and add tabs anytime you want. You can see here I have many of them, but if I was adding a tab for today, I'd create a new section and I might call this OneNote training session. Okay, and then that starts a regular, see, notice over here on the right hand side, it starts with an untitled page because your title doesn't have anything in it. So if I say 11/11/2020 OneNote, you'll see alongside the right hand side of the page, that page has taken up the name of that title. All right, if we flip over to Microsoft for Windows 10, it's much the same way. in that you can add a notebook, right? But instead of tabs across the top, this first column here is going to be what I consider tabs, and then the pages will go in here in the second column behind that. So over in 2016, I've shown you how to add a tab, right? And we can type on this page. One other thing I wanted to show you from this page is you can see it has a kind of a constraining box around it. And that allows you to stay in this constraining box if you want. Right, if you would like, or if you have different notes for this same page, right, I'll click outside of here. Then when I hover over the top of it, you can see the constraining box. And if you hold toward the top, you get the 4 arrow, and you can move that box around. And if I want another note to go here, I can say whatever I want. And then I have 2 different boxes here. You'll see I have this constraining box and this constraining box, and it allows you to move them around and put them kind of wherever you would like them to go. So this is the first page of my OneNote training session tab. If I wish to add a page, over here on the right-hand side, you just click on Add Page, and you see we get another of the exact same process. And then I can begin to work down in the page as well. I'll jump over to 2010 quick, or I always say 2010, I apologize, to Windows 10. And it is much the same way, where you can add a page under Quick Notes or under Staff. I've made some of these already. But if I'm under Quick Notes and I wish to add a page, I'm right-clicking here, and I just click on New Page, right? And so it operates much the same way to add tabs and pages to your OneNote section. Now, another thing, and I don't use these as often, but I know lots of other people do. I'll come back to 2016. Not only can we add pages, but maybe on 10.3, we got way into the weeds here, and I took too many notes, and I need to split them up for organizational purposes. I'm going to right-click over here on my tab, and it's going to allow me to make a subpage. Or I can make a tab into a subpage, I guess is what I should be saying. So you would make a tab, use it how you want it, and then make it a subpage, and notice how it nests a bit, and then you can move it. You can click, hold, and drag and move that subpage anywhere you would like. So you can make a subpage here, and then over again on Windows 10, you can make this new daily notes page. I've made it a page, and then I've decided it's actually a subpage, and it will indent to help with my organization. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna go back and check chat quick. Thank you, Cindy. And Brenda will get you an answer on where the session recording will be listed to be able to retrieve to review. We'll talk about that at the end of the session as well. Again, if you have a question, just go ahead and put it in chat. We'll try and answer it real time if we can. I'm going to go back to Windows 2016 here. And I want to show you, now that I have my different tabs, right, I can create, see, I am definitely a function before form person. There are many people who use the color coding of OneNote very strategically. Mine is fairly random, but if you decide you have a specific coloring scheme, right, if all of your budget notes go in green, you can change your tab color to green. And again, by right-clicking anywhere on the page, it's going to give you a quick menu that could very well give you the menu option that you are looking for. So in terms of formatting these, you format the tabs here with a right click, or we can go over here to the View tab, and there are some other things that we can do. You can change your page color if you wish. I don't know if you can see that. It went to a light blue. back to no color. If you like lines, or if you're using OneNote on your mobile device and you have a stylus, there are opportunities to use a stylus for OneNote as well. So some people like rule lines or graph lines. Perhaps you're an interior designer and you use graph lines instead. I'm not sure. You can hide the page title, zoom in and out, page width, right? Standard information here. Some people use OneNote often enough that they want it docked to the desktop. And you can do that with this simple button right here. And now, in a kind of an inception moment, I have OneNote 2016 docked against the right-hand side of my screen. And I'm actually looking at OneNote for Windows 10 in the main page. And then this little left-right arrow here gets you back out to the standard view for OneNote. So the basic setup for OneNote when you first open it is extremely intuitive and very simple. It looks like almost every other Microsoft application you've ever used across here with the nav bars at the top. And then at least I thought it was intuitive. I say, oh, these are tabs and these are pages that go inside of the tabs. Cyndi was going to show how to set up a notebook to share. Cyndi, you can either I can stop sharing my screen, or you can just tell me what you would like me to do.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, I'm going to stop.
So do you see my OneNote?
Yep.
Okay, great. So as you can see, I have a whole bunch of books within my binder. And we in design services have a lot of shared content. So we have a project manual actually that we have shared. And if we go to that particular notebook, it has settings, but you can actually save it to a shared drive, and anyone that has access to that shared drive, so ours is what we call our projects drive, they can actually just go and open that notebook and add information to it, or you can actually share or move that notebook. So if we go back, it will say who has actually input information in that notebook, and anyone can add information throughout this document. So you can actually share pages. So I could share this way and email the notebook, or share in an online meeting to someone else.
So it really gives you the ability for your entire team to use OneNote as a wiki, if you would like, or a Wikipedia. Yes, I'll show you how to lock OneNote here. I'm going to talk about password protection in a moment. And editing at the same time as someone else, I believe, is a little dicey. Cyndi, do you have experience with that? I know often Microsoft will lock one user out while the other is editing.
I do not have experience with that.
Okay, so I would assume that it is one editor at a time for the OneNote wiki, because that is fairly standard for Microsoft. All right. I'm going to share my screen again here. And I'll go back to, there we go. You should be seeing my OneNote again. So in terms of content creation, I've already shown you some of the most basic stuff, right? We can add a page, add a tab, add a page. We can call this meeting notes subpage 1. And then we'll make it a subpage so that when they're looking, they can see that it is a subpage, so that it goes along with the page that's above it. And then again, you can type information in here. You can insert various things in here. Sometimes it's easy to insert a simple table, right? You just tell it how many rows and how many columns you want, and then you can move across it. It operates much like an Excel spreadsheet, or you can actually import an actual spreadsheet where we'll create a new one. and allow you to work from Excel, having a little bit more functionality. File printout, file attachment, right? You can have an existing Excel spreadsheet where it asks me, let's see if I can find one here quickly. There we go. You can either attach it or insert it. Right, and it's inserted it right there. A screen clipping. This is often important if there's an error on your screen or anything. This turns your OneNote into the snipping tool, which can be great, where you can grab a hold of it. It's going to wash out your screen a bit. I'm just going to drag what I want to highlight, let go, and then you'll see it takes a little snip of exactly what I copied and puts it in my OneNote as well. So that can be really effective. Pictures, online pictures, you can record audio and video, you can put a timestamp on it. Another thing that you can do here is you can actually, if you use this more with mobile, you can draw. And I'm going to attempt to write my name here using the draw tool. So forgive my 6-year-old handwriting with my mouse. But there is one cool feature if you use a stylus often. See here, this ink to text went from grayed out to black, which means it recognizes my chicken scratches. Oh, it didn't recognize the K. See, it's not perfect, but it did change the Y, the L, and the E into text. So if you use a stylus, if you use OneNote on mobile, that could be a very valuable tool for you as well. Okay, somebody asked about password protecting certain sections here. You can add, I'm on the OneNote training tab, and in the review tab at the top, I can click on password. You'll see it brings me a little extra window here, and you set the password. Now, one caveat is if you set the password and you forget it, there is no other way that I know of to get that password removed from that notebook. You are the only one who has it. So if it's your own private OneNote, that's fine. If it's a group OneNote, you may want to have the password written down or have somebody else who has it just in case. And so now I've protected this OneNote training session here. And so now if I click on it elsewhere and click back over here and wish to write, well, I'm the one who locked it. But if someone else was to try and access it, they would need the password in order to access it. So for example, if I were to come over here, I think I have this one password protected as well. It must be open because I am the owner of it and I am the one who password protected it. But it's a very easy process to protect either a sheet or a tab with, from the review tab, the password button. A couple of other fun things that you can do with OneNote is the way that it interfaces with other Microsoft things. So I'm going to open up my email here, and I'm going to open this one here from Cyndi, right? And I want to move that into my OneNote, right? It's an email that I want to move into OneNote. Well, you can see right here in the main screen of your Outlook that there is a move to OneNote. You simply click on it. You can say where you want to put it. And we'll put it in OneNote training session. Click OK. And now you can see another page has shown up under OneNote training session. That is HRS poster. That is the email that she sent me. So if you have a collection of information around a topic and an email comes in, rather than copying all of it and pasting it all over into here, which is certainly something you can do, you can just use the button that's direct in Outlook in order to add that to your OneNote. Another great thing that you can do here is I have any calendar appointment that I make or any meeting appointment that I make. This is our daily team touch point that we do every morning since some of us work remotely now. If you want to share meeting notes with this appointment, in the actual meeting detail, there will be a meeting notes button for OneNote. I can click on it and I can share my meeting notes with that meeting. so that they can access those notes as well. Again, preventing me from having to copy and paste things, prevents replication. That way you only have to make the change in one place. Let's see if we have another chat message. Oh, that is excellent. I meant to say that at the beginning, Cindy. This works like Excel. OneNote is an automatic save. So everything that I've typed right now, even if my power was to completely go out and my computer turned off, when I started it back up, everything that I had would still be there. So it is an immediate save, and you never actually have to hit the save button, and you're not going to lose anything either. Thanks for that, Cindy. I appreciate that. And then you had
No
some
problem.
things as well in content creation that I wanted to give you a few minutes to share.
Sure.
And I'll stop.
So I'm going to go between screens. So right now you should see a map of campus. One of two things, I use my screen clipping tool. And so as an example, I need to send someone a copy of this map, but I want to put it in OneNote. Let me get my OneNote back open. Change screen. So I can go in and just click anywhere in a document and put this graphic. I can move it around. I can resize it. The other thing is if I wanted to have it in there twice as an example. With OneNote, you can paste whatever you want. If you want to move multiple things, you select the first one with a right click, and then you actually hold the control key to select the second thing, and then you can move them together. They're supposed to move together. They got on top of each other. Let me move them if they're not overlapping. Then you can move them around. One thing, when you do start a new page in your notebook, it automatically assigns a date and a time, and you can go in and manually change that. So say, for instance, you started this document. I started this document on Monday, and now I want to update it to today's date and our presentation time. You can go in and change that. So sometimes you'll go back, and the nice thing is that we'll document when you've actually created the document, but you may want to update to give the most up-to-date information. Printing, you can do a preview, which I strongly encourage, because you may have things split between two pages, and you may need to do some moving around. So this shows you that it's cut it off. It has a weird page break. So one of the things under insert is you could actually go in and insert a space, and there's no rhyme or reason to that space, and then go back to print preview. This is probably the worst feature of OneNote that I have found, but now I've got them separated onto their individual pages. And if you decide you want to remove that space, you just go in and click and shrink it or expand it. So for instance, I do a lot of graphics with interior designs, and we put furniture packages together. So this is one of our presentation pieces. And this is important when we go to print, but we may want to move pictures around, resize things, label them with the appropriate bounding boxes that Kyle had spoke about earlier. And then when I do a file print on this one, we'll see we've got chairs cut off at the bottom. So we'll want to do some resizing and reshaping on that one. There's no rhyme or reason. You just have to keep playing with it and go to print preview. The other thing that you can do, if I go back to share on, if I go back to the Mizzou website and I do a file print, one of your destinations will be OneNote. And so I can say, yes, I want to send this to OneNote and print. So you can go to any website and it'll ask you which notebook you want to put it in. And it'll insert basically that clipping. If it's printed from the web, it'll label it as printout and then you'll have to rename it, but it'll give a date and a time. So that's what I had under there. Kyle, looks like we've got a lot of
Yep, I was just looking
stuff.
through the chat things, and I don't know if we can't get you help here. We might be able to. IT updated my Office suite. Now I have a completely new OneNote. I thought my OneNote would update too. I'm afraid that I lost my old notebook. The only thing I would know about that, Hope, is if you can go find the actual OneNote file from your old OneNote and re-import it back into your new OneNote suite.
I agree. I've had multiple computer updates and usually I can go back and find everything.
Yeah, so there's probably an old OneNote file that you might be able to import into your new OneNote, and your IT pro might be able to help you with that. Aaron says you can still do Control S if it makes you feel better. That's right. We always double and triple safeties are always good. You can always Control S and save. Glenda asked if I used the snipping tool, and I did not. Well, it's very similar.
I did. So
you did.
Kyle used one and then I used one.
Yeah. So she used the snipping tool that was actually in as part of Microsoft, right? You start the, I think you're looking at my screen. You can go to your start menu. For those of you who don't know this, this is an extremely excellent application that essentially gives you the opportunity to take a screenshot or a partial screenshot of anything on your computer. So do it, people love this. When you get an error message, instead of rekeying the error message, use your snipping tool, and then you can go take a quick screen snip, right? And so I can go to anywhere and go grab it. And then you can see this is not OneNote. This is my snipping tool that I did. And I just grabbed a piece of my intro screen here, right? And then you can copy this.
And mine is on my dock, so I always have it available. I don't have to go type snipping tool.
And there's actually, I think it's Alt-Shift-S. There's a hotkey to get your snipping tool open as well. I might be off on that, but there is also a hotkey tool. And so then I just copied and pasted into OneNote. Now, if you're in OneNote, the same functionality, pretty close to the same functionality, occurs within OneNote from the Insert tab, the Screen Clipping button. All right, and actually that screen clipping button occurs elsewhere too. It occurs over in your Outlook, which can be a very valuable tool as well. So that is there anytime you might need it. I'll go back into my chats here. Cheryl, yes, there's the snipping tool, and since we're snip tool is my new favorite. Okay, usually that happens where something that isn't involved with OneNote at all is something that you learn, and that's a good thing as well. But I want to show you, oops, hang on here. Where's my quick notes? Here we go. I always do this no matter what session I'm training on, because the world does not, the entire world does not know this yet, and they should. I'm a hotkey guy. I understand if you're not a hotkey person. I totally understand that. Even if you're not, there are 4 hotkeys that you should know if you don't know them already. Has nothing to do with OneNote, but you'll use them in OneNote on any Microsoft, pretty much any application. These are fairly universal. Control Z is undo, and then possibly the best computer function ever invented, cut, copy, and paste, also has hotkeys as well. They're along the bottom row, right? They're all right next to each other on the bottom row of your keyboard. X for cut, C for copy, and Control V for paste. And if you don't have those burned into your brain yet, start practicing with them, because they are so much faster than using your right click to cut, copy, and paste, or going up into the nav, right? 5 ways to do everything in Microsoft, but these hotkeys are extremely fast. So between the snipping tool and here, maybe you learned something that's not even OneNote. But I'm glad that you all found it now and see it. Let's see what else I have in my notes. Oh, if you want to search OneNote, perhaps I have, let's see here. You can Control F, you see, to find on page. And so if I'm looking for something, let's see here.
My other huge favorite function of this program.
So you can, yeah, so you can search here all of OneNote, or you can find on page with Control F, but I could say events. And this is the part I love about it, is not only does it find it for me, it tells me how many results I returned and on which pages I can find them. And then when I click on that page, it's going to highlight the word that I was looking for. So as your notebook grows, one of the biggest downsides of a notebook or sticky notes is the ability to find things in that huge pile of notes on your desk, right? The Control F function here looks just on the page, and this search function here searches all of OneNote. One thing that I like with 2016, this is a functionality that is unfortunately going away. Let's see here. I need to go to a different screen here quickly, and I'll see if I can make this work. All right, I've just put, I just went and grabbed a quick meme from the internet, right? Because I think we're all ready for a vacation. But sometimes you'll have a image that has a bunch of text on it. And so I use OneNote as a hack tool for this, where if I have an image that has 200 or 300 words on it, rather than recopying it, you have to use 2016 for this. However, you copy the image in, right click, copy text from picture, and then it's not perfect, but you can save yourself a great deal of time by copying the text out of the picture. OneNote will actually read readable text in a picture and put it onto the clipboard for you so that you can copy and paste it out. I think that's a very cool tool.
Yeah, I learned something.
Yeah. There have been those times where, you know, I get a piece of instruction and it comes in an image form, or someone has sent a PDF and I would like to copy, you know, normally now you can use Adobe to copy text out of a PDF, but this can do it also as well. And then let's see, what was the other thing I was going to show? Oh, the other hack way that I've heard OneNote used is that in OneNote for Windows 10, it has this immersive reader function. And the immersive reader function will actually, you probably won't be able to hear my system, but you see the play button down here. Immersive reader will actually read to you. So if you have something that you don't want to read, that you want it read to you, or if someone's having trouble viewing a screen or something, you might be able to copy it into OneNote for Windows 10 and use Immersive Reader to actually read it aloud using a voice back to you, should that ever be something that you are looking for. At this point, I'm just going through all of my little tips and tricks to see if there's anything else that we've missed. OneNote is a fairly easy program, and actually Cyndi and I talked about whether or not we would even need an entire hour to show you how to use it. I think the biggest thing you can do is go to your machine. If you have a PC machine from the university, it already has it on it. You should be able to go to the start menu and type OneNote, all one word, and your copy of OneNote will pop up. You can open it and start typing. It is not synced to anything until you sync it and not connected, so you can't really do any harm. And I would just encourage everyone to open it up and see if they can find a way to use it that works for them. My OneNote doesn't look like any of my colleagues. I'm sure it doesn't look like Cindy's either, and yours will look different than everyone else's. There are, if you do mathematics, right, there are just so many little different tips and tricks within OneNote that however you use it will be the way that you will customize it for your use. Cyndi has a lot more of the snipping and clipping because she's an interior designer. It's more visually oriented, her profession, than mine is. Mine is a lot more oriented toward copying and pasting large amounts of text and or code across from one place to the other. Let's see, Jennifer says, if I had a project I needed to work on and needed emails and files, would it make sense to put links to all of those in OneNote or embed the files and the emails? Well, you could do that either way. You could put links to it in OneNote. The thing that I could think about is if you put links to it in OneNote, but then for some reason you were on a different computer and that computer couldn't get through the OneNote link to where the file was actually residing on the other machine, that might provide a block. But as Cyndi says, you can click sync automatically. And she syncs more than I have. So if you want to talk about sync a little bit, Cyndi, I'd welcome it.
Okay. I'll go back to sharing my screen. So basically, if you go to your file and like all my notebooks are here, you can go to view the sync status of each one. And it looks like most of mine are up to date. You can actually go in and manually do a sync now, but mine is set to sync automatically whenever there are changes to any of the notebooks. So again, when I connect in and turn my computer on, and it should sync just fine, and I can do a manual sync all now. But if your staff is working remotely, that may be where part of the problem is, or where part of the disconnect is. Someone was talking about documents actually linking in. So you can actually go and open documents from our project manual, and if that is updated, as long as the link is correct, then you would be able to open the document and make changes. So that's a good tip too.
All right, great.
There's a question about where you copied your text from the vacation picture.
Yep,
file.
I thought I posted an answer to that. Now, again, that's only in the 2016 version. That's not in Windows for Microsoft 10 or Windows 10, OneNote for Windows 10. I'm not going to get it right this whole hour. They dropped it for OneNote for Windows 10, but in 2016, once you have the picture pasted, you can just go in and say, copy text from picture, and it should, all other things being equal, grab the text from that picture and put it in.
So a note from Alicia, who's on my staff, also, if like the Excel file that I just opened, if that file moves and the link is broken, obviously that will disrupt getting to that file. So if you do have documents connected, you'll want to make sure that you update that shortcut in OneNote. Thanks, Alicia.
So I am going to put a link into the chat here, and everyone can click on it now if you want, because I think the chat will go away when we go away. But this has a couple of documents that might be helpful for you. There's a quick start guide both for 2016, and then there's a quick start PowerPoint for Windows 10 that you could go in, and they're free for download. Another way to, if you want to learn more after this hour, I always advocate you can always go out to YouTube and just search for the word OneNote. There are multiple different trainers out on YouTube that have free tutorial sessions that are happy to help with that. Go ahead, Cyndi. Oh, we're seeing her screen. I don't know if she's meaning to share it or not.
Sorry about that. I
Nope.
am. So I was going to show to-do lists.
Oh,
This is
yes.
actually an old one, but you can create any text, and you can actually highlight that information, and on your home screen it says to do or Control-1, and you can automatically put your to-do list on there and check things off. If you go through your to-do list and you say, I want to highlight that and make that important, if it's a star. So there's a whole box of tags that you want to highlight, an address or a phone number or a website to visit. You can label it as project, and you can give it as many tags as you want. You can start a new to-do list anywhere on your screen. You can put Outlook. You can assign Outlooks and say this is due today, and it'll give you that date and time associated with it. You can find tags. And I haven't really used this function, but you can check in the notebook and look for certain things. So if you want to find send to attendees, this was assigned that tag. So you can search all of or just a particular notebook to find your to-dos or your starred important information. So that's another huge feature. So somebody has a question about the huge amount of storage. I have most of it on alternate drive, and I haven't had anyone question the amount of storage I have. And I think I have a couple notebooks on my hard drive that no one else needs to have direct access to. And again, I still haven't had any issues.
Oh, and Kim, unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question. Has OneNote been approved for PHI use? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. And Allison has a question. Can we move things from the S drive to this? You can, but if you have something on the S drive, Box or actually OneDrive, right? SharePoint OneDrive would be a better option for storage of files than OneNote will be. Now, I know that many of us are using Box. I don't know if you happened to take my colleague Mel's training session yesterday, but we are moving as a university over to OneDrive/SharePoint, and eventually Box will be moving away. So before, just as a word of caution, Allison, before you take on a huge project and move your S drive over to Box, you may just jump Box and go directly to SharePoint OneDrive. It might save you a step at some point next year.
So Dawn, I may be able to help you this afternoon with your OneDrive question.
great. I was trying to see if I could do it in real time here and I wasn't hitting it, so that's wonderful. So if anyone has questions at this point, we're moving into the question portion. If there's anything that we can do to help, go ahead and put them in chat. We'll answer as many of them as we can. If you don't have any questions and need time to finish up your lunch, we certainly understand, and thank you all very much for coming. You're welcome to drop off whenever you want. Please fill out the survey that is sent to you. That's very helpful for HR and for us to let us know how we did. And syncing with the OneNote app. Let's see.
Oh, I guess I answered that for the software, not the app on the phone.
Right. And I don't have information at hand. So yeah, Cyndi showed how to do it. The file menu, the notebook, or view sync status for the application. But I don't know the app on my phone. I don't have a quick answer for that. I apologize.
I don't know the app, and I don't know that the two connect. Like, I don't know that, because I've got a notebook set up in the app, but I don't know that it's in my notebook in my computer. Like, they're not connected.
It seems to me like it's doing it now on my iPhone. And the notebook has come up and it gives me my 3 choices: personal, math, and then of course to create another book. So when I think it just kind of, yeah, it's there. So for iPhone anyway, if you've done the most recent update, it just walks you right through it. I'm assuming you have to have your Outlook and everything synced, but.
Okay, so I take it back. I do have my app notebook on my computer as well. So let me share my screen. So the Cynthia at University of Missouri is actually the one that's on my iPhone in my app. I don't think there's anything in there, which there's not, but so you can get to it on your desktop.
Thanks so much for that, Cyndi. Because I have trained on 2010 and on 2016, I've synced and unsynced and broken the bridge so much that I'm not even sure which of my OneNotes would sync to what at this point. So if that, I don't use it as a team wiki, if that tells you anything. So I'm pretty much just an island on my own OneNote. But again, thanks a lot, everybody. Don't feel the need to hang out and wait for questions. If you don't have any questions, thank you very much. Please fill out the survey. Have a great afternoon. Try and get some sunshine if you can, and enjoy the fall weather. But we'll hang around for a while and see if anybody else has any questions, anything at all. But otherwise, thanks very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Great job, Kyle and Cyndi. Thank you so much. There are a few more questions coming in. I'll let you answer those.
Yeah, Tanya says, should you simply choose one version other the 10 or the 16? I probably would, Tanya. At this point, if you're just coming on to OneNote, I would probably pick 10 because OneNote 2016 was the version they released nigh on 5 years ago now, and it will still continue to work. It's the one that Cyndi and I use. But if you're just starting, I would probably recommend starting with OneNote for Windows 10, as that's probably, it is the newest version and the one that will continue to be supported going forward. Christine, I'll share my screen again. My 2016 screen, now I was jumping back and forth a bunch between them, but my 2016 screen does actually have my pages along the right-hand side. So you can see this is 2016. This is the quote of the older version, right? Where the pages are over here on the right.
So mine is like yours. It has it on the top, but instead of showing it on the right, I meant to say left. Mine is on the left side. So
On the
I
left.
can't figure it out. Maybe I have, let me see what version I have. Because I've got 365 now. So I've updated all my Microsoft products to the 365. So maybe it's a 365 thing.
That, that would be my guess. I've not seen any 2016 that has it along the left-hand side, but
Okay.
that's as good a guess as any.
Can you talk to how it can attach to Teams, or have you had any experience with creating a Teams group and then having a OneNote associated with it?
I have not associated OneNote to Teams. We were heavy Zoom users, and so we're moving over to Teams little by little. And my Teams, actually, we use the OneDrive and SharePoint files for those over in Teams. Cyndi, do you have any experience connecting Teams and OneNote?
No, we use Teams a little bit for communications, but we haven't kind of brought anything into that platform yet. But again, all of our notebooks are saved to a shared drive that everybody can then access. And I don't know if there's a reason to bring it into Teams in particular.
Oh, okay, thanks. I had played with it and I couldn't get it figured out, and then I thought I was messing it up more so than anything. So
if you do go to the view tab, there's a normal view, and maybe it has to do with some of those things. You can dock it to your desktop. There's a new docked window, but maybe playing with some of those views that your pages are on the other side, you may be able to reconfigure that. You can also pin the notebook so it's not showing everything. It's a pop-down menu instead of residing there as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
And I think I even learned a thing or two here today, which usually happens during a training session. So thanks to all of you as well.